The latest recruiting commitments and the Oregon Ducks. Are they about to go on a recruiting run?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to get to some Ducks talk as Oregon looks like they're getting ready to go on a recruiting run, what it means, and how do the Ducks do it? A program that's in a remote location, getting players all across the country. A lot of people think that it's just NIL, and that is not the case. I'm going to break that down here later on the show. But to start, we're going to talk about the latest commitments, Big Ten, SEC, ACC, Big 12. There's a lot of programs still picking up commitments, and we're just about to enter flip season 2. Just want to throw that out. Once these games start in late August, you're going to see prospects that are committed take visits to other schools. We're almost to that point as well. So let's talk about the latest commitments across college football over the last, say, 5 days or so. Ja'Shawn Richardson out of Marina High School in Richmond, Virginia, defensive lineman, 6 foot, 290 pounds. He will stay in state and be a Virginia Cavalier. Evan Jacobson out of Waukee, Iowa. This was a really wild recruitment. He could have went a lot of different places. Auburn was involved. Notre Dame was involved. He ends up picking Texas A&M. This is a young man that is 6'6". He's got the frame to weigh 250. Really good pickup for the Aggies. Next up on the list, this is another player that Miami needed. Their secondary has been much maligned over the last year, and rightfully so. Got to give credit to the entire Miami staff. Their corner room and now the beginning of their safety room is starting to look really good. Miami's recruiting class is borderline top 10, and adding Cortez Redding out of Jonesboro, Georgia, just outside Atlanta. That's another guy that could end up possibly playing nickel. Maybe he ends up playing safety. If everything went right, maybe he ends up playing corner, but a very athletic guy. Most think he will play safety for the Canes. And Miami's DB group is really, really good. Speaking of DBs and the state of Georgia, NASCAR McCoy, a corner / safety / just athlete for Ole Miss. This is a kid who plays at Buford. That's one of the best programs, not only in Georgia, but the United States. And he's a kid that's played against top competition. Ole Miss has a really good squad this year, but if they could have added one more guy like McCoy a couple of years ago, it might make a big difference for them making the playoff. That's their biggest weakness. So signing kids like this moving forward is really important. He had a plethora of offers from major Power 4 programs. Houston's been also doing pretty well. I like what they're doing locally in particular. This is another example. John, I don't know if it's Hebert or Hebert, but out of Straight Jesuit, it's a program that's been around forever. Running back, 5'10", 185 pounds. Maybe he plays another position. Maybe he plays safety. Maybe he plays in the slot. But this is a good athlete, and that's a good program that's local. The entire Houston program has been based on trying to keep kids in Texas, and especially kids down in the southeastern part of the state, close to the city of Houston and in the city. That's a program that's on the rise. Do not be surprised if this year they surprise a few people and they get ahead for the next couple of years. Speaking of the state of Texas, Jet Taylor is going to Navy. This is a kid out of Grand Saline, 6'1", 195 pounds. The midshipmen get another really good player inside that state. Houston gets Rhett Gray, an offensive tackle. They need tackles in this class, definitely. They need probably one more. 6'7", 290 pounds. They go up to North Texas in the Dallas area and Weatherford. That's not normally where Houston gets a lot of players, but 6'7", 290 pounds, Rhett Gray is going to be a Houston Cougar. Florida State got Deron Parks a few days ago, 6'5", 340 pounds. Could play tackle, possibly. Maybe he plays inside. He was down at Cardinal Mooney High School in Sarasota, but now he's at Nitro, West Virginia. He is originally from that state, so he's moving back home to finish up his high school career. Tuafananua Ayanaya Tana Uma Case. That's about as close as I'm going to get on the name here. University of Washington gets a player out of Inglewood, Colorado. Defensive lineman, 6'3", 307 pounds. Cherry Creek High School. 4-star recruit. Washington's class is a little underrated. And if they can start getting big defensive linemen, and I'm not saying his name again, I'm not going to butcher it twice. If they can start getting defensive linemen like this, the Washington Huskies can start making more noise inside the Big Ten Conference. Kosi Barnes, cornerback, is going to South Carolina out of Grimsley High School, one of the best programs in the state of North Carolina. Bigger corner, too, listed at 6'2", 190. South Carolina really kind of set the stage last year, maybe the best pass rush in the country. Their defense overall is getting better. Adding players from North Carolina like Barnes is certainly going to help their cause. Cameron Thompson out of Gadsden County, just outside of Tallahassee, Florida, interior offensive lineman, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's going to the SEC to play for Mississippi State. We also have, Tennessee, sticking with the SEC, Joel Wyatt, an athlete. Maybe he ends up playing linebacker, that hybrid spot, 6'4", 195. Could be a guy that ends up playing a lot of different positions, though. He's a national recruit out of Oakland High School, big-time prospect. Wouldn't be surprised if the offensive coaches wanted to give him a look just as much as the defensive coaches, but a really long and athletic guy. You need those kind of players to play in the SEC. Hugh Freeze actually just mentioned that in his opening press conference for spring football. You need length and girth, and Hugh Freeze is absolutely correct. Tennessee gets one of those guys with Joel Wyatt. Continuing on in the major power college football landscape, Matt Mayfield at a Lincoln Lincoln CC in Wesso, Mississippi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right either. Wesaw, wide receiver, 6'2", 195. Mississippi State's always taken a lot of junior college kids, and I'm surprised that more programs don't. The Mississippi junior colleges are really good. If Mississippi State is going to build that program back, I think it is a very wise decision for them to use the local resources. Mayfield is one of those guys that has a little bit of size. He's going to have some college experience. He will probably play pretty early for the Bulldogs. Air Force gets Stryker Reed out of Gordon High School in Gordon, Texas. Another one of those athletic guys that could play multiple spots. Maybe he plays offense, maybe he plays defense. But I like to give the shout out to the different academies. Speaking of Brady Wyatt, another kid out of the state of Texas, St. Mark's High School, an offensive tackle, 6'6", 255. He is also headed to play for Air Force. Now, looking at the list overall, before we get into the Oregon discussion, there are a few other big commitments coming up over the next several days. I'll be doing another one of these probably this weekend to kind of highlight everything who Oregon got and some of the other commitments, but a lot of big decisions are definitely coming up. When we come back, we're going to talk about Oregon. Why are they such a hotbed for recruits, and how do they do it? Hint, again, as I noted in the opening, it is not just NIL. Oregon does a really good job, and we're going to break that down next here on the Portal Podcast. DripDrop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly and delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. If you want to find something that is really good for you to try to get through, whether it's a workout, whether it's a hot day in the yard or something else, you should try DripDrop. It's not just something that you can forget about. Like, I used to not drink enough water, that's for sure. And like using this kind of stuff to try to keep your electrolytes up, keep your energy and your focus, that's a great way to do it. So if you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether it's workouts, long days, or anything else, DripDrop is a hydration where it all starts. And that's where DripDrop comes in for you. For me, flavors, grape, orange, cherry, basic flavors like that work. But DripDrop is a really good way to stay hydrated. Right now, DripDrop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to DripDrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. Hit that like button, that notification bell to stay up to date with everything and all the roster management news around college football. And I'm also doing some previews. Going to have a lot of major programs to discuss over the next few days. And it's just going to continue all the way through to that big weekend. You got Miami, Notre Dame. You got Alabama playing Florida State. We, of course, have Clemson and LSU in Death Valley. And the one in South Carolina. We got Texas against Ohio State. We're going to talk about a lot of those things, win totals. and the recruiting that led to that, along with the transfer portal. Now, time to talk Oregon Ducks. And I want to clear the air really fast. I see a lot of people say that Oregon gets a lot of the recruits just because of NIL, just because of Phil Knight, just because of the money they use. That is false. That is the clincher in a lot of cases. But Oregon gets a lot of recruits because of how well they scout, how well they get involved early, and I mean early. Underclassmen, getting them to campus, and just building relationships. Dan Lanning and his staff do as good a job as anybody in the country at building relationships. So when you get into that final 2, 3, 4 schools, you've got a shot. You get a kid on campus for an OB. And then the finalizer is sometimes the money. To that point, there are kids that go to Oregon that pass up more money from other schools. It depends. There have been a few kids that I've spoken with that decided on Oregon. They disliked the culture there better, and they did pass up face-to-face conversations. But now with Oregon, I think they're sitting, let's see here, 24/7 going into Thursday. Had them as the 11th class, 15 commitments. Anthony Jones is going to decide today. As I do this, he might be making his decision. He's deciding on the Pat McAfee show. I expect him to pick Oregon. They also have a chance at Devon Benjamin and Deuce Gerald's over the next few days. This is a really big opportunity for Oregon football. To be clear, once again, they build their recruitments based on the relationships to get the kids on campus, and they do it early. They get over the top, at least some of the time, with NIL. It's not the other way around. I just want to clear that and be very, very much upfront, because Oregon staff does a great job and they deserve the credit. As for where this class is headed, I think there's still some guys they're going to go after. And note, for whatever the reason, Dan Lanning and his staff do a very good job at flipping recruits later in the process. I'll put the over-under at 2 guys that between now and signing day, the Ducks flip, in addition to what they get, just more high school kids or JUCO kids, etc. I'm going with 2. We'll see who they are, but more than likely they will be elite players. As for their class right now, I really like Oregon's class, but it does need a little bit more in terms of numbers. Right now, again, they're sitting at 15 kids going into the day, but Jet Washington, 6'5" safety out of Bishop Gorman's, top of the board kind of player, 5-star. Emmanuel Iheanacho is another 5-star kid that plays back at Georgetown Prep in D.C. Jalen Watts, a burner. I think they'll play him on offense. I don't think they need to play him on defense, but they've got a lot of receivers too, so we'll see what happens with him. He's a kid that's from the greater Dallas area, plays at Panther Creek High School. They're loaded in this class in terms of the upper echelon talent. Maybe one of my favorite players to watch on film this year is also committed to them, and that's Tradarian Ball out of Texas High School in Texarkana, Texas. They're loaded, but they just don't have enough numbers. But they could end up creeping into the top 5 of the recruiting rankings. They've been patient. They've stuck with their plan to go after the elite kids. Even if they commit somewhere else, I expect Dan Lanning and his staff to continue on going after those guys, because they can't sign until the first week of December anyway. And then finally, Oregon, they've been known to find a few diamonds in the rough. Don't be surprised if they find somebody this year. It could be a kid from Texas, kid from Illinois, who knows, that they like, that they will add to their class as well. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we will see you again soon here on the Portal Podcast.